Everywhere from the gas pump to the supermarket, we're feeling the pinch of inflation. A lot of things are costing a lot more money, and if you're feeling squeezed by that, this could be a good time to hit the reset button on your budget. Here to talk about some ways to make your dollars go further is Jon Paradise from Town Country Federal Credit Union. Jon, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Pat.
Let's begin in the kitchen. Of course, everybody has to eat, but there's a lot of things you can do to make those dollars get stretched out. What do you have in mind?
Well, first of all, I think people automatically jump to the conclusion that they have to be a great cook to make their food dollars go further. And that's not the case. Of course, nowadays, there's so many great apps and YouTube videos that you can whip up some dishes and maximize your food budget in no time. So you don't necessarily have to be a five-star chef to make your food dollar go further. Some of the things you can do: use coupons, of course. You take advantage of all the apps and all the rewards programs that different grocers have. Maximize those to their fullest, and they really can stretch your food dollar as well. Become an MIYer. And you're wondering, what is that? I've only heard of DIY. MIY is make it yourself. Again, it gets back to, cooking some things that maybe you usually would go out and purchase, like, anything from desserts to appetizers to even a frozen pizza. It maybe not taste as great as going out to eat, but it certainly will taste great when it comes to adding up your finances.
Keeping an eye on the store's weekly sales is always a good idea too.
Absolutely, and they have lots of them, and they're out to get you to use certain products and services, and they'll reward you for that. So be on the lookout. You've got to stay up to date on it, and it can save you a lot in the long run for sure.
One of the most expensive things on our food budget is meat, so maybe a little planning around that can make a difference too.
Absolutely. Make some meatless meals if you can, or use meat as an ingredient instead of a main dish. You can really maximize it that way. Maybe combine a couple of a meat or a fish and make it a stew one night and maybe a stir fry another night. You get multiple meals if you can really figure out how to measure out your resources. And meat is one of those big ones, and it costs a lot as well.
Let's talk about some things you can do around your house to make sure everything's running efficiently and you're getting the best bang for your buck.
Well, of course, Pat, as we're heading into winter, one of the biggest things is make sure you've winterized and weatherized your home as much as you can. Cover up those drafty areas if you can. Also, make sure everything is clean. Make sure your furnace is up to date, or whatever type of heating source you're using. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's energy efficient. Unplug small appliances when you're not using them. One of the big things that can really add to your electric budget and your electric expenses is leaving those phone chargers plugged in when you're not charging your phone. It sounds like a simple thing, but it's not so simple when you look at the expense of your electric bill, and it's easy to do. So do those little things around the house that can add up.
And some investments up front are going to save you money in the long run, such as you mentioned, winterizing. You seal any gaps you might have, but also insulating your home better.
Absolutely. Again, those are upfront expenses. Those are big money, or at least they seem it, but in the long run, they can really add up. Also, maybe you want to switch energy sources. Heat pumps have become more and more popular, or ways to maximize your furnace by programmable thermostats. And, I know with more people working at home these days, the tendency is to run the heat more often. Well, maybe bundle up, put on an extra layer or two during the day, and utilize it as much as you can.
It would be nice to save some money when we're on the road as well. Step one on that is making sure you're paying the best price you can find for gasoline.
Yeah, I know. That's one of those things that can give you a headache and make you into a cold sweat, finding those or looking at those gas prices. There are some great apps, again, to find the lowest gas prices around. One of those great ones is an app called Way that will help direct you to the lowest gas prices around, and try to plan ahead when it comes to when you're going to gas up. I think sometimes you end up paying the most because you're on E and you really need gas, and then you end up going to a place that's the most expensive rather than planning ahead. So don't cut corners when it comes to shopping for gas as far as planning goes.
And of course, make sure your vehicle is running in top condition.
Again, just like winterizing and weatherizing your house, make sure your car is in working order. Make sure your tires are properly inflated. That can really cut down on your gas mileage and how much you get out of a tank of gas, things like that. Make sure all the fluids are up to date and things like that that can help maximize your car. And if you can, maybe find ways to carpool. Maybe somebody in your neighborhood is going to the same place, maybe it's not the workplace, but maybe it's to an event. Look for carpooling opportunities when you can.
Or simply ask yourself, is this trip really necessary?
Absolutely. I think nowadays, if you don't need to go out, don't. And if you can kill multiple birds with the same trip, try to do that as well. I think people in the old days, we tended to go out and just, rush down and add up the mileage here, there, and everywhere. And then, oops, we forgot something. We have to go back out again. So that's where organization can go a long way as far as how much gas you're using and how many trips you have to take.
Jon, this time a little more philosophical. It's just about getting frugal. What do you have in mind?
Well, I think when people think of frugal, they think of stingy, and they think of characters like the Grinch. That's not what we're talking about here. It's more, I think frugal, you could put in parentheses, smart. Get smart about and resourceful about the things that you're doing. Look at all the things you're spending money on. It may be time to cut back or maybe cut the cord on certain things. Use coupons and freebies as much as you can. Shop some thrift stores. They're certainly a growing industry and becoming very popular. And maybe if you need an outfit for only one occasion, that's a great place to get it instead of paying full price at a retail outlet or online. Take advantage of all the free things that are offered in your community. From free parks to sometimes museums are offering free admission days, maybe family days, things like that, that can save you a lot of money as far as having fun, or plan family game nights. That costs you nothing. And if you want to invite some friends over, have them bring a dish. Potlucks are kind of, I think, making a comeback in these days of trying to be frugal and still have a good time.
And you can also save yourself a couple of dollars if you start trying to do it yourself, a little more DIY in your house.
I am all thumbs when it comes to a lot of home improvements, but even and believe me, if I can do it, most people can do it. I've learned to do some things myself, from fixing doorknobs to changing locks and doing painting instead of hiring out. First of all, it's going to be difficult to find some of these contractors. Second of all, again, maximize the technology. That's where technology comes in really helpful and can be really money saving. There's so many YouTube videos on how to do it yourself. Other than things that could be dangerous, like doing your own electrical work, if that's not something you're certified in or you have any experience in, but things like painting and putting in a different doorknob or locks or things like that, that can save you a lot of money.
And of course, if you're someone who's looking to get a manicure or a haircut, well, maybe that's something you can do yourself too.
Absolutely. Those little things, they all add up. You think, $25, $30 here, that's nothing. But over the course of time, you figure you get a couple of those a month, that's $60, $70 at the minimum. And that's $60 or $70 that can go towards something else.
And the holidays are coming up. A lot of people wondering if they're even going to be able to buy the things they want with the supply chain problems. So there's another opportunity to DIY.
Absolutely. I think people are more creative than they realize. And from the heart gifts are, I think, extra special. Growing up, our kids really made some wonderful DIY gifts. And those are the ones that are still around. It's not yes, gift cards are great and they're always the right size, but you get something and then you forget what it was shortly thereafter. So some of those DIY gifts are things that are, as the commercial says, priceless.
And this is a good time maybe to start looking at your debt and think about consolidating and maybe shrinking it a little.
Absolutely. Look at ways you can refinance and consolidate it all into one payment. There are some great rates out there. It's a good way to lower that high interest credit card to a really much more affordable interest. Take advantage of programs that your financial institution might have, like skip a payment. It's a good idea to, pay a small little fee that can maybe maximize how much you have to spend, and it really won't add to the bottom line as well. But also take advantage of those money management apps that can help keep track of your finances, let you know what you've got to spend and how much you're spending rather than winging it. That is where you get into some really difficult and challenging financial times.
All good inflation busting advice. Jon Paradise from Town Country Federal Credit Union. Thanks once again.
Thank you, Pat.